What's going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo. So if you're watching this at the time of upload, I'm actually at my best friend's wedding, and I wanted to make sure that I still brought you guys some content, so I really hope you enjoy this guest upload for today. I'll be back soon, don't worry, and we're going to get into all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Content your heart's desire, but for now, I really hope you enjoy this guest upload. So thank you guys so much as always, and we'll see you next time.
What's good, YouTube, and welcome to Cimoooooooo's channel. My name's House of Champs, a fellow content creator here on the platform, and Cimoooooooo's letting me do a guest upload while he's gone. Cimoooooooooo does something that I truly respect, and that is bringing competitive conversations to a wide audience. He has over 100k subscribers, but he didn't limit himself to stuff like pack openings or McDonald's content. He brings hard-hitting and awesome topics to you guys, along with meta-analysis and stuff like that, so I really respect that he's gathered such a large audience with that, and I similarly do competitive conversations like the one I'm going to bring you, and also study the market. So if you're interested in that, do check me out at House of Champs. Should be linked somewhere down below, but let's go ahead and get into it. Yu-Gi-Oh! Being a one-turn game has held true during certain formats, but I don't believe that that's necessarily true during this current format, and we're going to talk about it. It does come down to the decks you play and your opponent plays, but I think a majority of that isn't necessarily true, that it all plays out in one turn. But we look at a card like Topologic Gumblar Dragon here that is meant for hand looping, as if we didn't learn from the past and windups. Now we have a card that you access straight out of your extra deck to allow you to just pop off, and you have other cards like Aqua Dolphin. If you went back to 2016 and asked us if we'd be playing Aqua Dolphin, we'd probably laugh, but here it is, splashing on down out of deck thanks to Neo Space Connector. So hand looping kind of turns it down to that one turn where if you don't have several hand traps to react to, you're probably not getting a sufficient turn or to play your opponent, or you need discard effects that matter versus the links they've made, like Bigfoot can't pop something when there's a Cerberus behind it, and you know, stuff like that. But also FTKs, first turn kills, are a very big problem as well. Since the inception of link summoning, we've seen not one or two, but six competitively viable first turn kills, and at first it seemed like Firewall was the problem, but turns out it was just a problem. Loops kind of made it on easy mode, but we have a card called Saryuja Skull Dread that allows you to special summon from hand, not as a hard once per turn, but just a once per turn, so multiple Saryujas equal multiple summons, and also allows you to continue to draw four with each one you summon. So turns out you just needed a couple of those extra special summons and resources, and digging for power cards like Soul Charge allows you to make insane boards. Early on it was stuff like Trigate Wizard with link summoning, right? We're setting up negates, but now it's just like trying to take the hand or not even letting you play with its bongo time. That fourth effect is so devastating, where your opponent cannot normal summon or special summon monsters. But with some of the boards that get made, I've actually been able to play back against this by setting a monster, not getting killed, setting another monster, and hey, you're out of there. They have to do massive damage through all that, and sometimes there's no helping it. You're gonna die right there, but other times you can actually play back. But the point is, a lot of this is setting up for the first turn to be the I'm gonna stop the game right here and take the win on the first turn if you didn't have enough hand traps. And if you did, you might have stopped me to where your two next cards are gonna just take me down and out. Now, this is where I highly disagree that it's just one turn. Early on in Link Summoning, we had True Dracos have a pretty big presence in the top cut, but that's more thanks to Masterpiece. But those games were slower, and still, you see True Draco pierce the top cut a little. But we have better examples of decks that are back and forth, able to play the game with each other, and Sky Striker's the biggest one. Now, it gets a ton of things going on the first turn, and a well-timed hand trap or two can sometimes put them out of commission. And when they go second against a deck like Thunder Dragons, it's a little bit of problems for them at times, but they have answers and playback. I think the coolest thing about Sky Strikers is you're able to respawn. It feels like older Yu-Gi-Oh! That's basically what it is. You're playing an insane resource game, which is what a controlled deck needs these days, into the ability to respond to what your opponent's doing. And through all these hand loops, through all this you can't play the game, through all these FTKs, Sky Striker has consistently taken a large chunk of top cut. and that's because it's so dang consistent, and it's able to play through things like hand traps better than most decks, because you stop one thing, they're typically able to continue on, and there's not like a key piece that gets shut down the first time. So I really do think that Sky Strikers, as weird it is, it's one of the top decks, and I hear less and less people complain because they hate playing against degeneracy, such as an FTK, such as not getting a turn, whereas with Sky Strikers, where it's hurt now, yes, the resource game is absurd, but it allows you to play a back and forth Yu-Gi-Oh! As one of the top decks. Similarly, there's Thunder Dragons, which are playing a game of, I'm gonna set up my board with a responding monster and a card that stops you from trying to play so much, but still allows you to play. That effect of shutting off searching doesn't stop drawing, doesn't stop certain aspects, and allows you to still continue to build your board in awkward certain ways to combat Thunder Dragons. They have, yes, built-in actual protection as well. So while Thunder Dragons feels like it's playing for its first turn, typically against Thunder Dragons, you see multi-turns like pan out. You don't just see that first turn decide at all. And then you also see recurrence, their fusion spell. The resource game is actually all about recurring the resources. When you look at the Hawk, it's able to go into the graveyard and summon. You're actually playing a grindy resource deck when you're playing Thunder Dragons, and not just a deck that goes, all right, here's turn one. Did you get it or not? That's kind of what Bongo feels like, right? It's saying you don't play back, but more so, you're gonna play awkwardly, but you get to play, is what Thunder Dragons feel like. It would have been so different if this came out as a structure deck, right? I have a feeling like if this was a structure deck, it would be way more widely played than the sitting at, 800 to 1,000-ish for the top cut list on this. Another deck that's more common is Altergeist, and yes, the trap cards are a bit expensive when you get into evenly matched and impermanence, but this is another deck that has to take multiple turns. Sky Strikers, they have a problem flooding the field and getting monsters because they want to keep their main monster zone empty. The problem with this deck, in terms of getting that presence on the board, is that it takes time, and it gives you access to a free resource through Multifaker and Sequidus. How do we say that? I just call it Silky. Silky here is able to respond somewhat like Kieran in 2015, where it pops itself back to hand, or another card. Pops is the wrong term. Returns itself to hand, and then another card. So you're basically looking at responding without many resources put into it, and there's a similarity there, isn't it? When you're looking at the Sky Strikers, their resources get back or become more resources that respond, and that's kind of the control we're looking at. Despite two very different aspects, a trap deck and a spell deck, the core focus is playing back and knowing your opponent's deck, knowing when to respawn, and how to play against them. And yeah, I know in the comment section down below, some of you were like, yeah, if you even get a turn, but there's a reason these decks are consistently topping YCSs in multiple slots. These decks are doing very well for themselves, and some have fallen by the wayside due to ban lists, but I think there's a smaller barrier to entry when you look at a deck like Sky Strikers. You're learning how to react to other decks, and you have to know when to play, but their interaction with the extra deck isn't as insane and combo based either as, say, Gumblar looping and learning how to go past a hand trap. Like, you don't know where you're getting reacted to, so you need to continue on. But it is so hard to actually learn every deck and then play properly against it. Sky Striker has one of the lowest margin for errors, and I feel like similarly, when you're playing a control deck, that happens. And we look to the future. We are getting more build-a-board workshop. I'm trying not to let you play cards very, very soon with cards like Boral Savage Dragon. So you can bet your bottom dollar you're gonna see people making this, trying to get negate boards back, similar to the Tri-Gate era, because I've seen a lot of decks focusing on Boral Savage Dragon, and he's really darn good being able to negate monster effects generically. Like, it's pretty good. Actually, it's anything, right? When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can remove a Boral counter from this card, negate the activation. It's pretty dang nice overall as in terms of what it is for setting up. But again, he's going to have to choose when to negate, and then you're going to be able to counter. It's a bit different when you have this huge body on board, and that does feel like the setup is going to be for one turn when you see a card like this. But remember, you have options. You have the choice to play the decks you want to play, and I understand combos can seem more fun than playing back and forth, and sometimes getting hand looped or FTK hurts, but there's always the next game, the next tournament, and you can continue to test and craft your decks here, be it on Dueling Book for free or in real life with the real cards with your friends, and trying to figure out what makes you enjoy the game. Thanks for watching so much. Again, my name is House of Champs. You can check me out, and I really enjoy doing discussions like this and watching Cimoooooooo's discussions. The energy he brings to Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube is pretty much second to none. He's a really positive influence, and I've been a friend of his for a pretty long time now, and I can safely say I think I enjoy his content above many others on the platform, and I assume that's why you're here watching. But I want to do more discussions like this, and I do hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, subscribe if you did.